This was a man who was totally committed to the things he believed in.
I'll never forget the impact he had on me. And all I can do is try and be more like him every day.
I met Claude back, it would probably be 98 or so. Was probably one of the first people that I met when I moved here. We just became good friends almost immediately, probably because of our love of country music and sharing some stories about the music that I listened to and some of the artists at the time that he would bring in.
I met Claud Jacobs when I was probably 15 years old. And I started working for him the second I got my driver's license.
Well, I met Claude by chance. Actually, Claude met me. I was blessed about 25 years ago for reasons I still don't know today. Claude reached out to me as a young man, and as Claude, being a man of wisdom, reached out to me, kind of put his arm around me and mentored me and taught me a lot about benevolence and about caring for people and about stewardship.
I met Claud Jacobs about 8 years ago when I worked at the Victoria Advocate, working with him on an advertising campaign for the Bluebonnet Youth Ranch. You know, Claude was very much so a mentor figure to me.
I first met Claud Jacobs when I interviewed for the position of president at UHV. He was on the search committee. He was an active participant in trying to pick the next leader for the institutions.
We both really had a love for UHV. That's where we grew closer when we served on the Dean's Advisory Board for what was the School of Business when it started. We both just had a shared passion to not only grow UHV, but try to support the students of UHV.
From the get-go, you could just tell with Claude that helping others was his priority. That was his passion every day, especially after he retired. His career was never over per se, but his focus just shifted into what can I do to help others? And that included, you know, the many organizations he worked with, the university especially.
He was very proud of the role he played in helping UHV athletics start and flourish.
I don't think I can think of anybody who better exemplifies a servant leader than Claud Jacobs.
I would describe Claude as an individual who has enormous passion and compassion. You see Claud Jacobs' name everywhere. We all see what he did from a public perspective. But Claude did an enormous amount anonymously. And Claude was a huge person behind the scenes.
While he was very distinguished and successful in his career, he really never seemed afraid to roll up his sleeves and do the work himself as well. He wouldn't ask something of someone else that he wouldn't do himself.
A very caring and giving individual. Kind of a no-nonsense guy though. What we needed to hear, not what we wanted to hear. He just wanted people to be the best that they could be.
That passion and that drive to help his own community, whichever community that may be. You know, he lived in Yoakum for a number of years and has lived in Victoria for, I think, 25 plus. And so he really took the community of Victoria under his wing.
UHV, Bluebonnet Youth Ranch, his church, his marriage. He always thought in terms of what he could do for others. He always thought in terms of how could he help. He never asked for anything for himself. But he was always willing to go the extra mile.
When I saw the picture of him in his obituary, it didn't bring a tear to my eye, it brought a smile. There is so much joy in that picture because he's on the golf course and he's representing the Bluebonnet Youth Ranch. And those two things combined brought so much joy to Claude's life.
I have favorite memories, and they all surrounded around the same thing, and that would be when we did the Bluebonnet golf tournaments every year. There were times that Claude and I would drive around the cart together, and so we'd get to go hole to hole, and to be able to see and witness firsthand Claude's relationship with so many people.
You know, golf was probably a second love after Mary Virginia. But it was amazing to see what he could do with the marriage of golf and young people.
He loved our athletic teams. He particularly loved the golf team. He loved to see them do well. He sincerely believed that if UHV athletic teams prospered, the university would prosper and the community would prosper.
He was young at heart. He had an organization that had been around for 50 plus years. His mentality was never, well, let's do it this way because it's always been done that way. He was constantly learning. And I think that's why he surrounded himself with young people, because he learned from them. He poured into people all that he knew to pass along his knowledge, his wisdom.
Think about the Bluebonnet Youth Ranch and the 600 or 700 kids that went through the ranch, but all the lives of those kids who now have kids and families. I mean, the branches of that just spread out into the community. It's not just 600, it's so many more that he's impacted.
Claude always told me as a young man, Robbie, the more you plan for you and your family, the longer you're gonna live. That may sound odd and may sound simplistic, but Claude has been very instrumental in my life in setting up things for my businesses and trust and insurance and my family.
Claude always showed pride in his family, how proud he was of his daughter, how proud he was of his son, bragging on them constantly, anytime somebody asked how they were doing. And his family meant everything to him.
If there was a way that we could carry Claud Jacobs' legacy on, I think the best way would be to serve our community. That's what Claude would want. He would want us to continue to serve, to continue to help others.
Just work to make Victoria and this area better every day, and do so through our next generation of leaders, because that's who he was trying to mentor.
To be a neighbor and help a neighbor. That means giving your time and your energy and your focus to organizations that matter to you. Find something that you're truly passionate about and give it your heart.
I think the lesson to be learned from Claud Jacobs is that it's not about you, it's about us. It's about what we can do together. You will never achieve anything of merit by yourself. Everything that you achieve that makes a lasting impact will be done with others. Claud Jacobs was a full believer in that. He always reached out and embraced other folks in what he did.
He taught me to tell your friends you love them and make sure they know that. And don't be afraid to tell them. Because you tell your family you love them. You don't always tell your friends you love them, especially guys. It's, that's a little bit harder to do. And that's probably the most important lesson he ever taught me.
He knew how much I loved him and how much I cared for him. But I just want him to truly understand how thankful I am for everything he's done in my life. The things that he doesn't even know he had an impact on, whether it be how I'm raising my children, the kind of wife that I strive to be, the kind of person that I am at work.
Claude would walk in here if it was his last moment on earth and tell us to stop because he's not worth all the attention and he's not worth the adulation. But I would just tell him, Claude, thank you, and I love you.
There's no saying about hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Claud Jacobs was one of those men who had talent and worked hard every day.
Claude, I love you. Jesus loves you more. And now you know it firsthand.